One of the most frustrating tools to not have properly mounted is a vise. I've used this vise on a good number of occasions, and I've done various things, clamp it to tables, etc. It just doesn't really work that well. So early on when I decided to do this project, I knew this was going to be one of the first things that I was going to mount on the cabinet here. So I've looked at the setup here. There's 3 mount points on the vise. 2 of them line up with the tracks pretty nicely. The third one doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and mount it with the 2 that do line up okay. If that works fine, I'll leave it as is. If I notice there's a little bit of sloppiness, I may get one of those sleeves that you countersink in wood and put a 3rd bolt in, or do something else to add a little bit more stiffness, a little bit more rigidity. But I think it'll be fine. I usually don't do a lot of projects where I'm really torquing on it. I just need it to be able to hold things securely for me. So let's go ahead and get that installed. Okay, so this is the first side. You'll see we can connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide that bolt into the track, line that up with the hole, and I'll do the same for this one back here. And when you're mounting a vise, it's important that you have a little bit of hangover, or that you get it aligned right, because if you want to be able to put a long piece through there, if you don't have that, you'll hit the edge of the table. I think that looks pretty good there. So I'm just going to put a washer and a nut on there. Same on the other side. Okay, I've got the vise set pretty close to square. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up. It doesn't matter if it's just a little bit off, because I can rotate the head on this vise, so I can always adjust that later, so no big deal there. Okay, you can see how I mounted that on there, where there's a little bit of a space between where the vertical piece would come through the vise and the cabinet, and that allows me to put something extra long in there. Okay, vise is installed and ready to go. You'll notice I still get a little bit of cabinet wobble, but the vise is actually holding really firm on there. Really happy with that. My middle section here, what I want that to be is my sanding, grinding section. So I've got 2 tools that I want to be able to use here. One is my benchtop angle grinder, and then the other is this 4x36 belt sander and disc wheel. So both of them have inline hole patterns, so I'm going to put 2 of the T-track bolts here in the front, and I'll be able to attach either the grinder or the sander. The sander doesn't quite line up in the back, but I can still use one of those brackets to clamp the back down. I think that'll work pretty good. For the purposes of today's setup, I'm going to go ahead and mount the grinder, and I'm going to put the sander back on the shelf for right now. Okay, to install the grinder, I've got the 2 T-track bolts inside the channel already. So I'm just going to take this and line those holes up, and we'll set the grinder right on there. Unfortunately, the knobs that this came with are too big to fit in the space here, so I'm going to have to get some additional nuts and mount that in a similar way to how I did the vise. That's okay though, no problem. It'll still be easy enough to take on and off. One of the other tools I don't use near as much as I'd like to is my benchtop drill press. Similar reasons with the vise. It's inconvenient to use. I've got to move it around. It's not mounted down. It kind of vibrates around a lot. So we're going to go ahead and mount it to this using the E-track as well. So what I think I'm going to do is use the middle channel here, and I'll just push the drill press back and line it up with these holes here. The one thing that I will mention here is once the drill press is on there, because I've got the vise mounted on the other end, it's going to block my middle channel altogether. So because of that, I've got a couple of these that I bought, so I'm going to go ahead and install these in the middle. I think I'm going to put 2 in the middle. That way if I do another tool or shift something around, or I put my sander on instead of the grinder, I'll already have these set in place, and I won't have to take the drill press off to be able to use these to take advantage of those. And I'm going to end up doing the same with this front channel as well. So I'm going to put 2 here and 2 here. We'll go ahead and put these together. You see I've already got this one put together. So it's just the T-bolt, the metal tie down, a washer, and then the tightening handle. So in this case, I'll just slide that in the channel and we'll put it out of the way. So here we're going to do the T-bolt, the washer, and the locking handle. The important thing is really having the T-bolt in there. The rest of that I can move or disassemble at some point. So we'll go ahead and put that there. So as part of mounting the drill press, I need to get one of these T-bolts in my channel in advance. If you remember, I have to put it in first because I have the vise mounted at that end, and otherwise I would have to take the vise off. The other one I can put in once the drill press is on the table. Okay, we've got that lined up. Go ahead and start these on. And then I want to move this whole thing down to the end. Alternatively, I could have used the brackets I installed here already. You just spin those around this way and tighten them down like that. So here's what my initial setup looks like. I moved some stuff around. I could probably keep tweaking this all day long. I'm gonna try what I have going on here. Let me do a quick walk around and show you what we've got. On the end down here, I have my vise. Now the vise is hard mounted down with bolts. It's easy enough to remove, but I did bolt that down. On the back side, I've got my bench top angle grinder. I thought this was kind of an interesting way to mount this because I've got a light here that I can swing around and use at the drill press, or I can also point up and use at the bandsaw. So I thought that was kind of a good location for the angle grinder. I've got my 9-inch bandsaw there at the end. You'll notice I mounted that sideways so I have the blade toward me. And then lastly, I have my benchtop drill press there at the front. Give you a close-up of how I've got some of those brackets mounted. You notice I even routed the cord under that one on the bandsaw. Easy to move this stuff around. Okay, the last thing I want to do is I want to take a quick look at what I got going on with the cabinet. So the top drawer I don't have much in right now, just some safety gear, a couple of pair of eye protection, some gloves, earphones, a couple of shop rags. So down in this one I've got my Dremel, the Dremel parts, and the little tabletop for my 4x36 grinder for the disc side of that. In the bottom here I've got my Chicago Electric multi-tool, my palm sander, my orbital sander, and my jigsaw. Over in this one I'm going to store my router for right now. And then most of these are empty. Buffing wheels, bandsaw blades, etc. And then all the little pieces, wrenches and Allen keys and etc. for the tools are going to go in here. So definitely more tools will go in this cabinet over time, but I think it came out pretty good for a mobile workstation. I'm going to get the tools cleaned up and call this project done for the day. I will just come back over here and show you again real quick what I did with the cords. I routed those around and then just plugged them in. Seems to work pretty good. Everything's got power and is mounted to the table. It's actually pretty sturdy, ready to use. This is going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing, give me a like and think about subscribing to the channel. Those subscribes really help me out. I also have lots of other videos. I'll go ahead and link up here on the side. I do tool reviews, other things. I will specifically link the first video for this cabinet review. If you want to see that, check it out. Finally, to all my brothers and sisters serving in harm's way around the world, you're always in my thoughts. Be safe out there. Till next time, everybody.